Jerome. How are you today?
Hi, Alexis. I'm good. Thank you. Happy Easter.
Thank you. Happy Easter to you and everybody watching or listening. So let's jump into it today. We're going to discuss with you guys drinking, dancing, and dating in different cultures.
Mm.
So we're going to talk about what it's like to go out, meet people, have fun in different places. Jerome, what about for dating? Can you tell us where you're from and where you live first, actually?
Absolutely. So I
Thank you.
live in Colombia. I've been here for about 8 years, I think now, and I'm from Ireland originally. So I guess I can talk about Colombia and Ireland. And you live in. You're a neighbor of
Yeah,
mine.
I am from the United States and I now live on the coast in Ecuador. So,
All right, and
between,
you are engaged. Is that right?
yes, I
Yes. Okay,
am.
you're
I
engaged
have a fiance
to
from
an
Ecuador. So,
Ecuadorian.
we have
Okay.
a blended culture relationship,
All right. Yeah. So
which makes it
why don't you tell me
exciting.
about dating in the US and also Ecuador? I'd love to know.
Okay. Um, so dating in the US, I would say, is very app based. Right, swipe
Okay.
left. And it and the dating culture to me is a little different. In the US, I feel it we're very like a hookup culture. It's very casual dating.
That's an
Here,
interesting phrasal verb. A hook, hook, hook. So, for example, if you go fishing, you might have a fishing hook. What does it mean? A hookup culture? Can you tell
a
us, Alexis?
hookup culture. It's casual dating. You're not necessarily dating to get married, but you have
Mm,
sexual relations and you go on dates together and you have fun. But there's no,
like
it's
commitment,
probably not long term. Yeah, no
right?
commitment. Thanks.
Okay. And if you hook up with a lot of people, does that make you a hooker, or how does that work?
A hooker's a prostitute. So I would say
Right.
no.
Okay. It's a little bit different. Thanks. Thanks for clarifying.
And I have to clarify as well. Not everyone does this hookup culture in the US. You know, you have traditional people, you have more modern people, but definitely I notice here it's dating a bit more seriously,
Hmm.
getting married in the churches. So,
Right. I've heard of another term on the internet, and it's called a situationship. I'm
oh
not
yes,
sure when or where this term was coined, but could you tell me a little bit about this situationship?
I was in a couple of those. Yeah. Basically, I would describe it as hooking up with somebody and there's you're just hookup buddies. You're friends with benefits. So maybe
Ah,
they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband, you never know, or a wife. Maybe you have more than one person you're dating. So it's kind of something that's not labeled. It's a relationship that's not labeled. You're It's not important enough to label it either. It's
right.
very, very casual.
Okay, yes. No, no, definitely. A lot of relationships go, you maybe start as friends, or maybe you could just be friends with benefits right from the beginning or hooking up. And then there is something called the talk. And it's not a talk, it's the definitive article, the
Uh,
talk. The
the talk.
talk.
Got
Dun,
it.
dun, dun, dun. And what do we mean by the talk, Alexis?
Well, it's sex ed talk that your mom or dad might give you,
Oh,
or
yeah.
it would be the like, where's this going talk? Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's what ends a situationship is two people are having a casual relationship, and then one person says, "I was talking about you to my friends, and I don't know what I should refer to you as. Are you
Oh,
my boyfriend or my partner or what are we?" And then
what are we doing here? What
what are
are
we
we
doing?
really
Yeah,
doing?
I'm
Yeah.
almost 30. Yeah, exactly that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's when one person in the situationship wants to make it a relationship.
Yeah, and that can often be a make or break moment for like yeah.
Definitely. All right, good, good. What about going to our drinking culture? So, could you tell me maybe one or two differences between pub culture in Ireland and bar culture or fiestas in Colombia?
Huh. One thing I noticed when I went back to Ireland last year was, and this could have just been in my town in particular, but one thing I found really refreshing was I didn't see a cell phone anywhere. So
Oh, okay.
Irish people are quite strict about this, and there's this sense of feeling that if you're in a pub and somebody takes a phone out and starts looking at messages or scrolling through Instagram, which some people just do passively without even
Yeah.
realizing it, that's usually a sign that someone will stand up and say, "Well, I'll get the bill and we'll call it a night." So some people get really offended by that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I have developed a really bad habit because, like, I would scroll on Instagram while eating my breakfast. I wouldn't even think about it. It's just something to do.
Same.
Yeah, or maybe I'm looking for a funny meme to show people or something. So,
Or for me, like when I'm at a fiesta, sometimes it's a nervous thing. Like when the conversation kind of dies down, I don't know where to look. So, okay, let me look at my phone.
yeah, and everyone else is doing it, so it seems okay. So why not?
hmm
What else? Quite a lot of singing in Irish pubs, I will say. I
Really?
like that.
Sounds
Yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah. Especially during weddings, like the entire bar will break into song, which I love. I love that.
So, do they often buy a round of drinks for the bar there?
That's true. Yeah, around, and that happens here in Colombia as well. Though I will say that's something in common. People buy a large here in Colombia. People will buy a large pitcher, which is like a giant glass, and they'll pour drinks for each person. As in Ireland, we all have our individual pints,
Ah,
but
yeah.
one person will go to the bar and they will buy a drink for six people. And then the next person will have to go and buy the drinks for the other six people. So if you get sucked into a round, it could be very expensive and detrimental for work in the morning. That could be very hard as well.
In Ecuador, they use tiny plastic cups and you all share. Either you share the same cup, so they'll buy a big beer, and for those six people, just pour a little bit, little bit,
Oh,
little bit, little bit. And so it's like more like that. And
right.
yeah, it was different for me getting a tiny glass of wine or a tiny glass of beer.
That's nice
But
because you can escape sooner. Yeah. If you've just paid in Ireland, if you've just paid for six people to have beers, you're gonna want to wait until the whole round, the whole cycle is completed. Otherwise, you've lost money. So you really have to sit
yeah,
it out.
socializing is
yeah,
expensive. What
absolutely.
about what are some other ways to say drunk, like wasted or buzzed
In
in
Ireland,
English?
you can take almost any verb in the past participle, and if you put it into the sentence, "I was absolutely last night,"
Wreck?
it means drunk. So yeah,
It,
I was plastered last night. I was
yeah.
destroyed. I was wrecked. I was langered.
I would say I was wasted. I was lit, or I wouldn't say lit, but slang. Or maybe what else would we say? I was sloppy drunk.
well, that's interesting. Let's talk about the different degrees or ranges of being drunk.
Ah,
So,
okay. Yeah.
now in the beginning, you're sober, meaning you
Buzz.
are.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
Calm down. We have to drive to the
I
pub
jumped
first.
ahead.
Yeah. So you start off as sober, which means zero alcohol. You're completely clear. You're able to drive. You haven't had a lick of alcohol. Now, what would be the next level?
Buzzed.
Buzzed. Okay. And what does it mean when someone says there's a good buzz? Like,
It's when you have that after that first one or two drinks and you start to feel a little warm and fuzzy and relaxed. You feel the effects of the alcohol. You're buzzed.
hmm. And then let's move it up a level. Let's give it another two beers. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say
Now
tipsy.
we're tipsy. That's a great word. Yeah, we're getting pretty tipsy where you start to be a little silly, you start to talk a little loud, the music's loud.
This is my sweet spot. This is when I lose my inhibitions but I'm still able to hold a conversation. So this is what I would call that very fine sweet spot where I'm not
Yes.
too sober or not too drunk. I'm right in the perfect place.
That's why the word tipsy, you're tipping. You can tip to the, oh, you went over the limits, or you're right on the line. You know, you're right on the line between too much and in control.
And too little. Both are terribly dangerous. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Then the next one I think we're all familiar would be, I suppose, drunk.
Yeah. Where you could be drunk and you're drunk, but you might say something stupid or do something stupid, but you remember and it's okay. And then I would say, would you agree the level above drunk is like blackout drunk?
I would, because as a seasoned alcoholic myself, I would even put in another one there. I would say hammered, which would be extremely
Hammered.
drunk. So I would say the difference between drunk and hammered is once you're hammered, you aren't really in the driving seat anymore. You're not making good decisions. You're a
Yeah.
bad dancer at this point. Like at this point, you're falling over, and you might have made a joke that was really offensive, and nobody thought it was funny. Maybe you destroyed the punchline.
Now you're annoying people. Yeah.
Exactly. This is the dark side. It's no longer fun anymore. Now you need a babysitter. And then there's one final level, which is when you wake up in somebody's bathtub and you don't know where you are. And
Wake
what
up
is
in
this?
someone's bed, or bathtub. Good times.
Blackout. So what does it mean if you say, I was kicked, somebody kicked a football really hard and it hit me and I blacked out? What does this mean, Alexis?
To go unconscious. I fainted.
That's right. Yeah. So blackout drunk would refer to when you do not remember what happened, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have a medically induced blackout or alcohol induced blackout.
That's right, yeah. Or it could also be from fear. Some people black out when they get injections. They might faint.
They faint, yeah. Good. The last topic I just want to touch on briefly is dancing in nightlife. So, what about salsa? Tell us about salsa and going out where you live.
The older generation are really good at salsa. I'll notice that. The younger generation believe they're good at salsa because they believe that due to genetics they have to be good at salsa.
Yes.
But I don't see it as much as the people in the Gen, what are they? The Gen X,
Gen X,
the millennial, like the generation older than the millennials. I would say the Gen Z and the millennials think they're a lot better at salsa than they really are. Because they might have been exposed to like different types of music, reggaeton, the cancer of Latin America. I'm sorry, I hate reggaeton, and hip hop and rock. So there's a very different style of dancing, and it's kind of diluted it a bit. I'm not sure though. Tell me about Ecuador. That's my impression of Colombia.
Okay.
At least here in Bogota. Cali might be different. It's more of a salsa capital.
And one more question, just really quick about that. So is it true, kind of, if I'm visiting Bogota and I want to go out for the night, like every bar has salsa? There's a lot of salsa you can find, or is it just maybe in one specific area?
There are bars dedicated to salsa, and there are other bars dedicated to things like, like a heavy metal bar. Like some bars are an exclusive type of music, and you'll also get an exclusive subculture that will go there. Cool. Sometimes in a reggaeton bar, they might play a little bit of salsa or merengue or something similar. They're not too strict. If it's a sort of a general bar, they will play a bit of salsa, but it depends on the DJ. So a smart DJ will know that if people are if it's a quiet night and people want to have conversations, they'll play something kind of more relaxed. But their goal is to get everyone onto the dance floor. So they will try and tempt people up and increase the volume a little bit. So it really depends on the bar.
They know the songs that works.
Exactly.
That work. Okay. So a few expressions for dancing, like bust a move or let loose, you could talk about with dancing. Do you like to dance salsa?
I do actually. Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm not very good, but I have this problem. I don't know if you've experienced this in Ecuador. Whenever I try to dance salsa, people always criticize my salsa and say, no, 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 no. There are rules you have to follow. And then they always try
Oh,
and guide me through the rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they try to explain to me that salsa has a kind of a sequence that you have to follow, roughly. There's a certain like footwork that you have to do. And then I might do that for a bit. And then they'll say, hey, come on, you're dancing like a robot. You have to feel the music. It's in the blood. Let loose, relax. So then I relax and they say, no, no, don't relax like that. So this happens to me a lot. So I just ignore people at this point and I do my own thing and I'm happy. So which I
then
think
you're
is,
like, I
is
don't
the
know
goal.
how, I don't know what to do.
I figured out that if you dance really, really quickly, then people cannot see your mistakes. And you can also convince them that you dance a very advanced level of salsa from a different country.
Yeah, exactly. You're the
That's
expert.
my middle ground. That's my way of coping with the situation. What about you, Alexis? Tell me about dancing and bar life in Ecuador and compare it to the US.
in in Ecuador, they like salsa as well. I would say it's probably, there's other, like you said, bachata. There's different styles. Of course, reggaetons, yeah, really popular here. If you go to the, in the US, we call them clubs. Here they call them discotheques. Um, if I'm going to go out, I like to go to Montanita in Ecuador, which is the most popular surfing town, and they have these like discotheques, like 3 stories. It's the entire town is basically like a big party on Wednesdays and the weekends.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, they have it set up, but kind of the same. They play the really popular Spanish music at the time, and it's a lot of boom, boom, boom. So
Yeah, a lot of bass.
we don't
Yeah.
go too often, but yeah, it's fun to see for carnival, or maybe like New Year's would be a time to go for
Yeah.
that kind of party.
I don't go as often because I'm not single, so it's obviously a lot more fun to go to these kind of clubs when you're single and you're hunting compared to when you're I don't know. That's my opinion.
My
Um,
problem is I can't stay up until 1 a.m. when they start, you know. I can't, I can't
Pathetic,
stay up all night.
pathetic.
I know. I'm always
Yeah,
like,
you might as well just give up and resign yourself to bird watching and knitting, Alexis.
pretty
It's
much.
too late for you now.
I'm almost there. Ecuador's great for bird watching, so I'm lucky.
Oh God.
All right. So the last thing I want to ask you, just before we wrap up, let's say you had to recommend a listener a place to go on a first date in Bogota. Where would you say?
Hmm. First, well, I'm gonna sound a bit like a cheapskate, but I don't like if I meet someone on Tinder. I don't know if I've been catfished, which means whether the person in the picture actually is the same person in the picture.
Yes.
I mean I could I don't want to reserve a restaurant in a Michelin star restaurant and my date who has advertised herself as a 22-year-old woman turns out to be a 64-year-old man with no teeth. So I need to know that the person I'm meeting is the person I'm meeting. So what I usually do is I go somewhere like a coffee shop, a little cafe, and this way it's kind of like and I can see you're reeling in disgust. This
Yeah.
guy's horrible,
No, I
but
have
I
comments.
don't want to commit to a full evening. Like if it's a bad date, even if she's beautiful, but we have terrible energy or bad chemistry, I like to say, well, let me get the bill. 2 cappuccinos. It's cost me like $5 or $6. I'm out of here. Job done. Goodbye. And I can cut my losses very early. But if I've committed to a a 3-part meal for 2 people,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be down maybe €150, which is really annoying, and I'm stuck talking to someone I hate for 2 hours. Um, it's nice to not have to commit to that. That's all I will say. So I would say somewhere like a coffee shop. That's my
No, no.
strategy.
I agree with you. Don't invest in people you don't know who they are. But I have a solution. Something when I was dating, like on the apps and especially, that I learned to get around that. A solution. video chat for 10 minutes with them before you meet them. And you've already done all the icebreakers and everything. So it doesn't feel when you meet them the first time like, oh, I don't know who this person is.
But what if they use one of those like filters, you know, like where
Then you don't even have
I've
to go
seen
on
that on like
coffee
Chinese
dates.
webcam sites. They can make anyone look like anything, you know. Seeing is not believing anymore. I need to see them in the flesh. I don't trust them.
Oh, okay.
but that's a good starting point, definitely.
It's a good starting point, yeah.
Mhm.
So all our single people out there, video chat a little bit first.
Good idea. Very good idea.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing some of your dating, drinking, and dancing experiences with us. And if you guys want to, listeners want to leave any comments for us about your experiences, where you're from, what your traditions, festivals, anything like that is, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
See you next time.
See you next time.